Hey guys, this is Sergio with Surge to New Levels, and today we will be talking about what it's like to have a neurotic personality and how to apply it to be successful. So, if you are anything like me, um, you might be neurotic if you tend to be very obsessive over certain things. You tend to be very anxious when things are out of your control. You might be really OCD, very organized, very meticulous about certain things, um, and your thought patterns might always kind of lead you down the same path. Maybe they just kind of like keep repeating over and over in your head. So, growing up, this was something that was difficult for me because I didn't quite understand how to apply that. So it was really easy for me to fall into bad habits. So I think that with a person who has a neurotic personality, there's also addictive tendencies. So for me, for example, and I'm a lot like my dad. So like a good example of my dad is every Sunday. Once he kind of got in the habit of it, he would always buy the exact same food. So every Sunday it was his ritual that he would go ahead and go to this restaurant, come home, eat that food. And so I'm kind of the same way in the sense that if I start kind of like doing something, I'll continue to do it. The problem comes where if you don't do this in a positive way, say you start getting into drinking or substance abuse or other things like that, it's very, very, very difficult for people with our types of personality to be able to get away from that and to be able to, kind of improve ourselves. Because obviously, those are going to be bad things for us, and we're going to fall into like, a big pit of despair if we kind of continue down that road. So, when it comes to kind of managing like my obsessive personality and just like my level of like OCD and anxiety that I have, one big thing that I have found that is extremely helpful is making checklists. So I found that if I didn't write things down in order of priority or things that I had to do for the week, for the month, or even just goals for the year, that I would get very overwhelmed. So there's always a lot going on in my head. There's always like a million different ideas, a million different things just playing out in my head. And so by being able to write everything down, I can center and focus my attention to be able to better apply myself towards these things. Another thing that has kind of helped me uh, be successful in my industry is being able to take those obsessive personality traits, recognize them, but also apply them. So when it came to powerlifting, my dedication was 100% there. Driving an hour to the gym, staying there for 4 or 5 hours, and then driving another hour back, and doing this like 3 to 4 times a week. And for someone with an obsessive personality, it's really easy to continue a routine like this and to be able to apply something like this and to, as long as you kind of recognize your limits, to be able to do it positively. Obviously, that was kind of a little bit more borderline on the extreme, but then again, I was competing at an elite level, so there's always kind of trade offs. But I think you always have to recognize when too much is too much. For example, if it makes you really, actually, here's a really good example. It was making me really happy to play League of Legends on the computer. So if you're familiar with this game, it's like very obsessive, you can get very obsessed and it's very addicting. So it started off with a few games. There was a lot of fun to it, a lot of fantasy aspect, being able to kind of escape the reality and that I'm in and like de-stress. And it actually started getting overwhelming to the point where like I was prioritizing that over a lot of things, like maybe I would, if I was playing in the mornings, I might skip breakfast because I was trying to get in another game. Maybe I was late to appointments because I was trying to finish up a game, like little things like that. That's where you kind of have to recognize like, okay, I have an obsessive personality, I tend to get addicted to things, so it's probably best that I stay away from this, right? And so for me, when it comes to kind of establishing willpower over things like that, it's either, it kind of sometimes becomes all or none. And so when it came to that, it was basically easier to just go ahead and say, I'm going to install this program for my computer, rather than saying to myself, I'm just going to play one game, because then one game turns into two, one game turns into three, so on and so forth. So always kind of recognize your weaknesses and your strengths, to be able to kind of guide that obsessive personality. And then finally, one thing that has really helped me out is learning to be able to kind of give up control a little bit more. And so always growing up, I was very meticulous about certain things, like about when I would eat, when I would do things, how I would do things, and if anything was out of order, it would be very upsetting to me. And it would kind of throw off my whole day, or like it would just like mess with my camera. Ran out of space. Sorry for the abrupt transition. But as I was saying, when it comes to kind of giving up control, it's something that I'm actually learning still, and it's something that I've been working on. Like I said, if things kind of got out of control, it was just kind of difficult for me to feel like I was, I don't know, it can give you a lot of anxiety to lose control. But I think it's really important to also recognize that you're not going to always be able to control everything in your life, and that you have to kind of go with the flow in order to live a little bit more. And so more recently, I've been really trying to make an effort with that, and I think it's definitely helped and improved a lot with my own mental health, and then also with my relationship, and then also too at work. I think at work right now, it's probably the hardest part where I'm struggling with, because running a business and being the business owner, I tend to want to do everything myself. But over the past few years, I've been really learning to trust other people, delegate certain things, and like I said, it's still a work in process. All of these things won't be 100%, but I think like as long as you're always working on something and you're always trying to improve yourself, I think you are always going to be on the right path for success. Because I will tell you this right now, whenever I am in doubt and whenever I am in fear of what the future has for me, I trust my gut instinct that I know that I have, always generally made the right decision, and that's something that like really helps me get through tougher times. So, things might get scary sometimes, but as long as you trust yourself, you'll be okay. So if you like this video, let me know. Give it a thumbs up, drop a comment, give me some feedback. Hopefully I'll keep making more videos. Thank you.